All right, everyone. It is 10 a.m. and we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the public notice published by the Texas Secretary of State, this in-person open meeting of the Commission on State Emergency Communications is hereby called to order on September 24th, 2025 at 10:01 a.m. Our first order of business is to establish a quorum. All commissioners are present with the exception of Lucille Mays, Bobby Mitchell, and Clint Sawyer. At this time, would we have a motion to excuse those commissioners who are absent today?
Squirrel motions for excuse.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Washington, second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. All right. On to future meeting dates. Andrew.
Good morning. We have our next commission date scheduled for November 18th, and we are currently have a projected date for January of the 28th. So if y'all could please check your calendars for that 28th date and let Karen know if that does not work.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. At this time, we'll open up for public comment on open agenda items. If anyone wishes to comment on a particular agenda item, please indicate by stating your name and you will be recognized to speak. Of course, if you prefer, you can always wait and make your comment when that specific agenda item is called. Is there any public comment? There being none, then we will turn back over to Andrew for our agency operations and executive director report.
Thank you. First up, we have Staff Service Awards for the year. We are happy to congratulate Karen. Where's Karen? There she is. Hi, Karen. in recognition and appreciation of 5 years of meritorious service to the state of Texas, which she passed on March 9th. State of Texas is grateful for your service in the administration and implementation of statewide 911 service and the Poison Control Network. So I'll ask us to join her up front here to do a quick photo.
Yay, Karen, 5 years.
All right. My second item to report on is our fourth quarter fiscal year 2025 performance measures. There is a new handout that was provided to everyone this morning for our 911 program. Percent of time 911 services available. We blew it out of the water, 100%. Our annual target is 99.5%. So when you're looking at the percentages, it actually shows over 100%. That's because it's percent of annual target. It's just the way the LBB calculates it, but essentially we didn't have any down for our 911 services. Number of 911 calls received by PSAPs, we had about 2.4 million calls of a target of about 2.8. So that comes out to 87% of our annual target. For the Poison Control Program, we had an annual target of 99.5%, and we got at 98.72%. That actually came as a result of 2 partial service interruptions, actually just in the last quarter for quarter 4. We did have loss of applications, but calls were still delivered. So the spies did have voice services. It just was essentially a partial outage. So we still mark it as an outage just because they didn't have full utilization of their tools. Number of poison control calls processed statewide. We had a little over 400,000 calls with an annual target of about 491,000. That comes out to 82%. Cost per call came in at $26.14 with an annual target of 25.69. So just a little above. It's actually 1.8%. So pretty much a negligible difference there. And then for our non-key performance measures, the ones I want to just highlight is the total number of RPCs with current InfoSec assessments. Our annual target was 5, and we got 10 completed in the last fiscal year. So really excited to knock that one out of the park here. We still have some that are actually in the process of completing those assessments, and then we have a few that are getting scheduled. DIR actually switched InfoSec assessment vendors, so we had a little bit of a delay as they switched between their FY25 provider to their FY26 provider. But we are now kind of back in the swing of things, looking to get those scheduled for this fiscal year. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Andrew? If not, then we'll move on to item 2, which is our internal audit report for fiscal year 2025. And I believe we have someone here from Garza and Gonzalez.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commission members. I'm Kim Lopez Gonzalez, representing Garza Gonzalez and Associates, the CPA firm that this body has authorized to perform the internal audit services for 911. And I'm here this morning to present to you the fiscal year 2025 internal audit annual report. This audit report does meet the requirements of the Internal Audit Act and also the State Auditor's Office guidance. Page 1 of our report to you indicates that we have performed all functions authorized by the Internal Audit Plan for fiscal year 2025, which included the risk assessment and preparation of the annual plan of the Internal Audit Plan, the 911 Performance Compliance Monitoring Audit, the Accounting and Financial Reporting Area Audit, and the follow-up of the prior year internal audits. The last 3 reports that I mentioned have been reported to and discussed with the Internal Audit Committee. The committee has approved them, and those reports have been submitted to the SAO and will be submitted to the SAO and other agencies upon approval by this board. This annual report will also be submitted. I'd also like to take the time right now to thank the people that we worked with. Monica Watt, of course, is our audit contact, and she is the person that facilitates all audits between our firm and the people that we work with. But I do also want to thank Lorraine Meek, Heather Barnes, and Stacy Walker, because all of them were our contacts throughout the audit process for performing our audit functions. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the fiscal year 25 annual report.
Are there any questions? I do have one, and we're going to go to the internal audit report. That's the follow-up of prior year internal audits.
Yes, sir.
If you go to the back of that report, it's essentially, I'm going to call it adjusting journal entries just for simplicity, but I realize that's not what it is. And I think as part of that, if I understand correctly, we've implemented some tests or requesting of staff to implement some checks and safeguards so that we don't always have these continued variances.
Yes, sir.
And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about what are some of the things that we might be doing there. And that may be in part Andrew too, I don't know, but.
Yes, sir. So we did, Chika Cherry, she is the other auditor that performs the detailed testing from our firm. And she and I did have a discussion with Andrew to discuss the reconciliation process. And some of the checks that we discussed where there possibly could be a second person that reviews the work performed by the person that's performing the reconciliation to identify any human errors, if you will, because that's really what it comes down to, is the adjustments that you see on that reconciliation that is provided to you in the back of that report that you referred to, is that they're really human errors. Like they are something that can be when you're performing the test and you go back, or the reconciliation, like we all know, if we're performing the work, it's hard for us to see that we made a mistake because we don't make mistakes. That's not really the reason, but it's just hard to see that you're, to catch your own errors sometimes. So we were talking to Andrew and saying, like, if you had somebody performing the reconciliation and a second set of eyes, that probably could catch most of those errors. I don't want to call them errors, but some of those adjustments that we came up with.
Gotcha. Okay. I appreciate it.
Andrew, I don't know if I missed anything else that we discussed during our meeting.
No, I think that covered it. Thank you.
Kathy?
So my question goes to the comment about using the Uniform State Accounting System and the CAPS. And I know that has limitations, but are we fully implementing everything we can through CAPS, and then there's just some things we have to go to the uniform system?
I think Lorraine might be the best person
That's
to
more of a,
ask
probably a staff
that.
question to ask. And if we're using everything through the CAPS that we can, then what safeguards do we have, or what are you planning to put in, in to have some controls on how we enter directly into the uniform system?
Lorraine Meek, Chief Financial Officer. We are utilizing CAPS to its full capabilities. I will say there are some disconnects even within CAPS itself. For example, we have the financial module, in which we put all of our budgets, our appropriations, and our expenses go through them. We have the HR module as well. The HR module doesn't specifically talk everything to the finance module. For example, salaries and the benefits, we have that all budgeted in finance. Everyone is entered in HR, but it doesn't reflect the encumbrances of everyone's salary to each other within CAPS. That's outside of it. So that's where we extract the information from CAPS and make sure everyone's accounted for that. Additionally, we just rolled out the travel and expense module in CAPS itself, and it too does not fully talk to CAPS Finance until it actually gets expended. So the encumbrance of people's travel where it's been approved, and yes, we have the funds for this, and that's finance saying, I've looked at our budget. We do have funds for this travel. It doesn't reflect encumbering those funds in the finance also. So as part of the process is we run the budget status report out of CAPS. We also compare that to USAS to make sure balances are matching. But then we're also looking at, okay, what are our travels that aren't accounted for and our payroll that's not accounted for, to build it all together. Now, there may be something that I'm unaware of at present that can help build those together outside of CAPS. I am just not aware of it as of right now.
But to the last part of your question, though, so the internal auditor did recommend that the agency create a compensating controls catalog for any time we have to do direct entries into USAS, and we agreed with that recommendation, and we'll be implementing that as a control.
Seems to me, though, that this is more of a, if we're having this problem, somebody else is having the problem, that this is more of elevated to, up to the state.
Yep.
level.
Correct. So every agency has to use USAS. It's the state's general ledger. Every agency has CAPS deployed. USAS itself was like literally built in the late 80s. It's based off of Microsoft DOS. It's a very old system. And they actually are in the process now of replacing it. So I think, I don't want to speak for the comptroller, but I think they're hoping that a lot of this type of stuff will get cleaned up once USAS gets decommissioned and the new systems put into place. Of course, that's going to take quite a few years to happen, but there is a plan in place to replace USAS.
I think the big challenge for staff in this, as well as the agency, is that in essence you have a accrual-based accounting system in part, that we have contracts that are signed, we obligate funds, we accrue those funds, or encumber those funds is maybe the better way to say it for government accounting. But at the same time, you actually have the payables, which are kind of a cash basis. And in some worlds, you would call it modified cash basis. But where my real concern comes in is making sure that fund balance is correct. And that's always been the big challenge, and that's why we've had the deal for the last couple of years. My concern came about because there was a pretty significant variance this year. And I think it's important for us to have a really accurate knowledge of that fund balance as we go, particularly into those legislative years. So,
So Lorraine and I here were speaking, and I'm not too sure if you recall, but a couple of years ago, Lorraine was able to have a second person perform the reconciliation. Lorraine was the reviewer, and there were minimal adjustments. So I don't know. I think that there were some kind of changes in personnel where Lorraine was not able to have a second person perform the reconciliation with her review. So we know that that did help at the time, because you're right. When the two systems don't talk to each other, Lorraine does have this pretty detailed spreadsheet in Excel that has to be performed to ensure that all the accruals or all the information is being accounted for in that Excel spreadsheet. So there's a lot of moving parts, and with a lot of moving parts, it's sometimes you forget to catch some of those items.
any other questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve our fiscal year 2025 annual audit report.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. And we'll continue on now with the proposed internal audit plan for fiscal year 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What you have in your packet is the annual audit plan for fiscal year 2026. And this audit plan does indicate the suggested areas for audit and other functions that we are proposing to be performed for 911 for fiscal year 2026. As part of the audit plan preparation, we do go through a risk assessment process. And page 6 of the report is a snapshot of the risk assessment summary. And based on that risk assessment summary, there are 13 potential audit topics, with 2 areas included in the high risk, 4 of them in the moderate risk, and the remaining in the low risk. And based on our risk assessment summary, also considering our budget that we have to perform all our functions, what we are proposing as the suggested areas for audit is the highest risk area there, the poison program administration area. And item number 3 is the records management audit. So we are recommending those 2 areas for audit. In addition to that, we will also perform follow-up procedures for any comments and recommendations that are included in the fiscal year 2025 audit reports. And also, again, reviewing or validating, I guess, the fund balance accounts. So, and also preparing the annual internal audit report. So those are the items the functions that we are proposing to perform for fiscal year 2026. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the 2026, oh Lord, wrong line here, 2026 proposed internal audit plan.
I will make that motion. Van Steenberg.
Scruggs seconds.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. All right, Lorraine, time for you to come back up for our appropriation year 2025 financial update.
Good morning. My name is Lorraine Meek. I am your Chief Financial Officer. Please join me on page 57 and 58 for your financial update as of the end of fiscal year 2025. This report is informational only and does not require any actions, but I will be happy to answer any questions. Starting with the top, per the General Appropriations Act, appropriations were $64 million. Additionally, we UB'd rolled forward grants totaling $16 million, which is a little over $15 million for 911 program and $788,000 for the poison program. The amounts expended and accrued include the allocations for strategic plans, poison centers, contracts, administrative contracts, and payables. At the end of the year, the available balance is only 3.2% of the appropriations, so showing $257,000. And of that available balance, 92% is to the agency operations. So we utilized a lot of those funds. Revenues. Speaking to the total revenue column, for fiscal year 25, we have over 1.4 million in prepaid wireless, 24 million in regular wireless, and almost 3.9 in, or a little over 3.9 in landline service fees, for a total of $29.4 million. Additionally, we have almost 17.3 million in equalization surcharge, for a total of 46.7 in revenue. In total, the revenues are $15 million less than the GRD appropriation, which requires the use of fund balance. Now, if we go crosswise, going against the comptroller's biennial revenue estimates, it looks that we are underfunded by $3.5 million. But there's information on that. I would like you to reflect on the last commission meeting, in which the surcharge revenue was not on point and on the plan of how much revenue we were going to generate for the year, in which there's conversations between our agency and the comptroller's office. It was discovered that in May, there was a $5 million transfer out of the service surcharge revenue and deposited into service fee wireless revenue. After full discussions with the comptroller's office, it ended up being that the auditor's office at the comptroller performed a review, and it generated that there was one vendor for the period of April of 2021 to August 31st of 24 who remitted their fees as surcharge, but they were service fees. So because of that, for that period of time, almost $5 million was taken out of surcharge to put into service fee. So that's where our ECDs, including Montgomery County, might have noticed in June their disbursement was a little higher than was expected. And this was why, is because that $5 million got put into the wireless distribution. And so your respective portions were divvied out. It is not a net effect of zero, but our 14% did go back into the service fee fund balance for that. So that is what occurred and why it now reflects like that we have a $5 million deficit in the surcharge revenue against what the comptroller's biennial revenue estimate is. I'm going to stop there for a second, but is there any questions regarding that? Okay.
One question
Yes.
about that. Was that all wireless?
Yes. So vendors submitted all of it as surcharge, and yes, it was deemed to be wireless revenue.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So with that, as we go down to the fund balance, how it does affect it because it moved it from one bucket of money to the other. But overall, our fund balance is decreasing for surcharge as we're utilizing it as to the full extent that we can. And then with service fee and our projections of moving the Proposition 8 funds into the Fund 50/50 available fund balance, it will be at $65.6 million. Again, no actions are needed, but I'm available for questions. And I do want to point out something new and exciting. Okay, Tibi. If you turn the page, these lovely graphs with the aid of our executive director came to being. And it shows you in various graph forms. The service fee, the red line is what the BRE is, and it shows at the end of the day, we exceeded the BRE as of the end of the fiscal year. Equalization surcharge, as we discussed, is below the line of what our expected BRE is. Then in the center section is the expenditures and how we've spent for the fiscal year. And then our projected fund balances in the table below. So it's the same information depicted differently.
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions for Lorraine? A on the graphs. Good job there. I think those were good too. All right. Then we will move on to our next agenda item. And Frank, Next Generation 911 Service Fund, Federal Grant Program, and Proposition 8 update.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Frank DeVetta. Sorry, I have a little cold right now. Please turn to page 59 of your notebook. There you will see our funding expenditure status reflected as of September 17th. To highlight a few things, percentage time of period performance elapsed is 74%, with our percentage of allocation expended at 76%. Currently, we have completed closeouts to 10 of the 47 districts, and based on reimbursement projections, we anticipate closeout to an additional 4 by the end of the calendar year. Additionally, we have placed an entity on a corrective action plan due to obligation status. In doing so, we have asked them to provide a plan to encumber funds and resolve the differences between the vendor scheduling and of services. We have given them 10 business days. And last but not least is our grant compliance monitoring status. During the month of May, Federal Grant Management created a monitoring plan based off risk assessments. We have since completed monitoring of 7 RPCs and 14 emergency communication districts. 21 final reports were distributed with recommendations for inventory maintenance records and no findings. This information presented in the staff report is informational purposes only. Any questions?
Any questions for Frank?
So at the end of the 10 days, well, how will that money be I'm assuming it be reallocated, or what's going to happen if this entity doesn't respond?
If they don't respond to the corrective action plan, we would potentially cancel that grant agreement, and the money would be brought back to the agency for redistribution.
Thank you.
We were hoping that's not where it goes, but that is a potential outcome.
All right. Any further questions? If not, then we will move on. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Next up, under our 911 service program, we have Heather and our Emergency Communications Advisory Committee Annual Evaluation of Cost and Effectiveness for fiscal year 2025.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Heather Barnes, Director of Programs. On page 67, you will find ECAC's annual review. Commission Rule 252.8 requires that the Commission annually evaluate ECAC's work usefulness and cost. The annual report is attached to the staff report and reflects the following. ECAC met 9 times during the fiscal year. All meetings were held virtually. Total cost estimates were $2,623, and all members met attendance requirements. ECAC continues to assist the Commission in coordinating the development and implementation of NextGen 911 around the state. Key activities for FY26 include the revision of the NG911 GIS data standard, interoperability and interconnectivity, cybersecurity, serving as a resource for the Commission during the next legislative session, preparing and submitting for consideration a presentation for the next Public Safety Conference, Texas Public Safety Conference, host an annual face-to-face ECAC meeting for all 911 entities, and support the CSEC Executive Director in responding to requests for information and other inquiries related to statewide 911. Commission staff recommends that the Commission accept this annual evaluation of its Emergency Communications Advisory Committee. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Heather? If not, then I would entertain a motion to accept.
Muscat motion to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Washington second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. All right, Heather, you're up again, and this time with the Regional Planning Commission Strategic Plan Amendments request for a feasibility project regarding the operational resilience of the 911 system design and the Rio Grande COG.
Okay, on page 73 are the details regarding the feasibility study. Historically, RBCs have only been authorized to procure and install a desktop CPE because of technology limitations. But with the adoption of NextGen 911, newer approaches are possible as geographical and facility restrictions are no longer a limitation or restraint. The new approach is called a call handling system as opposed to customer premise equipment. And this new system no longer has physical equipment located in the PSAP with the exception of the desktops or laptops that are where the calls are actually answered. Separately, advancements in network technology no longer limit RPCs to traditional direct underground network technologies. How's that for a phrase? I just lost my place. Sorry about that. Improvements to wireless technology are notable, but they still remain a challenge in rural areas. And newer satellite technologies have been used as a resource for redundant call delivery, and they have been proven as a reliable source. This staff report is divided into two parts. One is the strategic plan amendment request from Rio Grande Council of Governments, and the second part is the feasibility project. So the staff report comes as just a plan amendment. There is no cost that's associated with this. The second part for the feasibility study is to allow Rio Grande Council of Governments to use laptops instead of desktops to test out the feasibility to see how it would work in their region. The second part would be to test a satellite solution on their network, their backup network. They are having to decommission their T1s because it's a copper technology and it is being end-of-lifed. So in researching, they found that there are some limitations with the wireless backup solutions in their area, so that they wanted to look at the satellite solution. So we looked at bringing this in and bringing both parts together at once. We want to bring it in and test to see if they can also, in the event of an emergency, quickly pick up and relocate the PSAP and have it set up and going within a few minutes, instead of it taking a few days or months to have new circuits in place. So upon execution of the project, staff will be involved in monitoring the steps and the progress. And a final presentation will be created containing the results and findings of the project, along with recommendations for any policy changes moving forward. Commission staff recommends that the Commission approve Rio Grande Council of Governments' request for a feasibility project regarding the operational resilience of 911 system design, including the use of laptops and a satellite network for call delivery, with a final presentation provided to the Commission after 6 months of continual use. Any questions?
Any questions for Heather? If not, we would entertain a motion.
Scro motion to approve.
Washington second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say no.
Yeah.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right. Kenny, you're up. Rulemaking. Conclude without amendment the annual review of the Commission Rule 255.4, definition of local exchange access line or an equivalent local exchange access line.
Should I make it longer next time?
You should. Just go ahead. Go for the gusto, buddy.
Appreciate it. Good morning, Commissioners. Kenny Moreland, General Counsel. We're on page 76 of your notebook there. As Chairman Beecham introduced it, we're considering whether to publish the conclusion of the annual review of this rule. As a reminder, and as we discussed at the last meeting, CSEC Rule 255.4 defines a local exchange access line or a equivalent local exchange access line. Health and Safety Code Section 771.063 require us to have this rule. It also requires us to review the definitions annually to address any technical or structural changes in the provision of telecommunications and data services. These definitions are important because the statute imposes a 911 emergency service fee on each local exchange access line or equivalent access line, and that applies statewide, including ECD areas. The OSPs collect and remit that fee to CSEC or the appropriate ECD in accordance with our definitions. Just historically, we revised the rule in 2005 when VoIP and 911 became a requirement. But for this go-round, we did not propose any changes to the definitions, nor did we receive any public comments for us to consider. Therefore, you can turn to the next page, page 77, to find our proposed notice, which would conclude, without amendment, the annual review of this rule. I recommend that the Commission conclude the review by approving the notice for publication in the Texas Register. Are there any questions?
We get this published now, you could probably make it through Christmas before you got to start the whole process over again, can't you?
There we go.
There you go. Any questions for Kenny? All right, if not, we would entertain a motion to approve.
Van Steenberg will make the motion.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Muscat, second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it. All right. Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
Jim, you're up next with the Poison Control Coordinating Committee Annual Evaluation of Cost and Effectiveness for fiscal year 2025.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, my name is James Johnson, and if you'll turn to page 78 of your Commission notebook. Commission Rule 254.2 requires the Commission to annually evaluate the Poison Control Coordinating Committee, or PCCUB's, work, usefulness, and costs related to the committee, including the cost of Commission staff time spent supporting the committee. Accompanying the staff report is the FY25 annual review. The annual review is a summary of the monthly meetings and key quarterly actions. To summarize, the committee met 12 times in FY25. Their work consisted of coordinating medical and administrative activities of the poison centers, such as development of healthcare guidelines, fast facts, etc., advising the Commission on the requirements of Chapter 777 of the Health and Safety Code, and maintaining poison center accreditation. The PCCUB continues to foster collaboration, collective decision-making, and assurances that the requirements of the National America's Poison Center, or APC, are met. The committee provides expert medical toxicology and to advice to CSEC staff regarding the Poison Center operations. They promote Poison Center services, all to maximize its efficiency. Commission staff recommend that the Commission accept this annual evaluation, and I'm subject to your questions.
Any questions for Jim? Well, if not, then I would entertain a motion to approve, or to, I'm sorry, not to approve, to accept.
Washington submits a motion to accept.
There you go. Is there a second?
Van Steenberg will second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Unless there's anybody else with anything else, at this time, I would accept a motion to adjourn the meeting.
You go ahead.
Chip's trying to make a motion there.
Scaro motions to adjourn.
Okay. Well, Chip, you can second it.
I will second.
All right. That being said, there's motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The time is now 10:41, and this meeting is adjourned.
10.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it's tracked separate, so it doesn't get put into.